This is going to be the second part of my what I'm planning to do for fantasy football videos. There's going to be 3 official parts. The third part will come next week once we lock all the keepers and I get a view of an idea of what players are available. But let's just pretend that I have an idea of what's going to be available and what players I'm likely going to target with my first few picks in the draft. So my situation is I'm going to have I'm going to have 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. Those are my keepers. So my first couple picks are going to be relying on a tight end, a flex, and a quarterback. So where am I going to go for a tight end? I'm going to show you what I think is going to be my tight ends for the first few rounds. So let's go down the list that ESPN came up with, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. So one of my picks potentially may be OJ Howard, depending on what's available for tight ends. He's not my first pick for tight ends of the ones that's going to be available, but he is somebody that I like because he knows how to produce. He gets touchdowns, he gets yards, he catches the ball, and he does it with a quarterback that's not as great as most are, and yet he still does it. My next option will be Hunter Henry. And the reason why I'm a little high on Hunter Henry is because I think Henry has the potential to be a monster just like Antonio Gates was. And Philip Rivers typically likes throwing to his tight ends. And that is endearing to me. So I'm really high on Hunter Henry. Let me tell you who I'm not high on. I am not high on Evan Engram, and it's not because of Evan Engram himself. I think Evan Engram is amazing. He's going to be a good tight end in this league. I'm not a huge Eli Manning fan, and Eli Manning typically tends to check down to Saquon Barkley, and Barkley is going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of great opportunities for plays. I don't have a chance at Barkley because our champion has Barkley. But yeah, that's why I'm a little down on Evan Engram. So that's what I'm gonna go for the tight ends. For my flex, I'm looking at a couple players, and there are a couple players right here on this list. Cooper Kupp is one of my top options for the flex that I'm looking at. I had Kupp on my team 2 years ago, and he produced like a monster. I really think he's amazing and that he can produce anywhere. I think Mark Ingram would be a good flex because Baltimore is going to do nothing but run the ball, and I think that's going to be good for anybody who drafts him. If he can stay healthy, then Mark Ingram will have a good time in Baltimore. Obviously, it won't be the New Orleans Saints offense, but I think he'll be okay over there. Tevin Coleman might be a decent flex because the 49ers are likely going to use him the most out of the running backs. However, I am a 49ers fan and I've seen what they're doing right now with the running backs. So my personal advice would be to not draft a running back from San Francisco until you have an idea of what they're going to do. But this is just my plan, and I think Tevin Coleman would be a good option for a good flex. I've used Will Fuller in the past, and I will say this right now: when Fuller is healthy, he is amazing. He'll get you 20 points a game. He'll get a touchdown, 2 touchdowns a game. But it all comes down. He needs to be healthy. So he needs to stay healthy. If he can do that, then that's a good flex. Chris Godwin is a great player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He gives the Bucs a great number 2 receiver. He's a flex I'm looking at, so I think he's a good option. So those are my flex options right now. I'll give you a more descriptive idea once we have a list of all the flex players that will be available after the keepers, but I'm liking those players right now. What about my quarterbacks, you're asking? Well, I like Andrew Luck. He's not listed here. Actually, no, he is. His numbers went down a little bit right now because of obviously the injury speculation, but I think he's going to be fine. Andrew Luck is my top quarterback that I'm looking at right now. I also like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, believe it or not, I still like Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers can still be productive, and I think he's going to be more motivated this year to do work. I have Aaron Jones on my team, so that could be a nice little double motion, stuff like that. I also like well, Those are the only two I really like. Jimmy Garoppolo is one that I like. I'm kind of being a little biased, obviously, but I think Garoppolo has the opportunity to pull out a good season. I don't think I would draft him in the top 10, no, but I would draft him if he was available. And those are my quarterbacks right now. Obviously, things can change, but that's what I'm thinking of. As for defenses, I had the Bears defense last year, and they were amazing. Best defense in football. However, the number one rule in fantasy football is don't draft the same defense 2 years in a row, especially if they were the greatest defense before, because obviously they end up letting you down. So I'm going to go after either the Rams, the Vikings, or the Chargers because I think all three of those defenses are going to be awesome this year. The only downside in drafting the Chargers is that you have to face Patrick Mahomes twice a year, and that can be a little, it could be bad, especially since Mahomes is amazing. But those are the three defenses I'm looking at, and then of course for kickers, Kaya Fairburn was awesome last year. Robbie Gold he's a gem. The 49ers are lucky to have him, and of course you have Will Lutz. Justin Tucker won me a championship once. I think he's amazing still, but the Ravens aren't going to score many field goals. So that is my fantasy football strategy for part two. What I'm thinking of for the draft, I should give a more clear, concrete vision in about a week and a half when I'll know what the keepers are. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe.